Glad you're streaming with us today. Florida's Board of Education has approved new guidelines on how Black American history should be taught. Among the new rules for educators, something called benchmark clarifications, including one that would teach middle school students, quote, how slaves developed skills, and in some instances, how it could be applied for their personal benefit. Those are the quotes. And this drawing clearly a lot of sharp criticism from a number of teachers, civil rights groups, even Kamala Harris. So the White House now says that the vice president will travel to Florida today to fight back against the new standards. Florida Education Association President Andrew Spar joins me now with more. So, Andrew, what are you hearing from teachers in your union? Just the honest reaction to this.
Shock, quite honestly. What educators want to do is make sure that every child gets the education they deserve and need. And when it comes to talking about history, we want to make sure that our students get an honest and complete history. And what we're seeing with these standards, and what quite honestly we've been seeing for the last year or so since the governor announced he's running for president, is politics driving decisions rather than sound policy.
How did we even get here, Andrew? Really?
I scratch my head all the time on that one, quite honestly. What we saw last year was the governor starting this notion of stop woke, not allowing CRT to be taught in schools, which CRT is not, but broadening that definition of CRT to say it include any discussion about racism. He blocked the discussion about Black Lives Matters, which is a current event in our society. And that, look, when I think about when I was in school and we were doing history lessons, we always compared and contrast events in the history to what was going on right now. And Florida's teachers are frustrated because they can't do that right now without the fear of losing their job.
So just to follow up on that, Andrew, how do you create an environment where teachers can fight against these standards, stand up and have a voice here?
Well, there's a dilemma here for educators because we take an oath that we are going to be honest in our dealings, that we're going to be ethical in our dealings, and that we're going to teach the standards. And when the standards aren't honest or ethical, obviously it creates this dilemma. Look, I'm glad the Vice President of the United States is in Florida right now because she's raising awareness on what's happening in Florida. These standards were written in a very short period of time. They were written behind closed doors in a lot of respects by a small group of individuals who were appointed by the governor. There was a task force in Florida working on African-American standards that had operated for years. Their recommendations were completely ignored, which really underscores that this was political in nature and not based on the best interest of students.
Right. And so what about advocacy groups? What about the powerful Black lobby there in the state? I mean, did they have a voice here? How are they reacting? What do they think about this?
Again, you see the vice president down here in Florida. There were a lot of African-American leaders in Jacksonville with her speaking out, or there now to speak out against what's going on in Florida. We're working with a broad coalition of faith leaders, of leaders from the African-American community, including the NAACP, Equal Ground, and other groups, including parent groups who are really incensed by what is happening right now in the state of Florida as it relates to not just African-American history, but how African-American students are really losing the opportunities to see themselves in the learning. Remember, the governor blocked a course on African-American studies by the advanced placement, by the College Board. And by blocking that, parents no longer have the right to have their kids take classes on African-American studies, such as the advanced placement class.
So you say Kamala Harris is there raising awareness, but can she actually do anything about this?
Well, I'm hoping that the federal government will investigate what's going on in Florida and the attempts to really whitewash history. I mean, when you talk about only having elementary kids be able to identify key figures from the African-American history in the United States, rather than understand and be able to explain how those African-American figures contributed to this society, contributed to our country, that should be concerning. When you have middle school students being told that slavery may have benefited slaves, that should be a red flag to us. And when we have chunks of history being left out of high school standards, we should be concerned. And so I'm hoping the federal government will look into what's going on in the state of Florida to make sure that we're protecting the rights of our students. And in Florida, in our Constitution, they have the right to a high quality, free public education. And I think that's being jeopardized right now by this governor and his administration.
Well, we're going to follow it, and I hope we can stay in close touch. Florida Education Association President Andrew Spar, sure appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.